says upcoming.
Are we live, Clay? Do you got the answers, Clay?
Broski.
Or we take it from the top?
Are we taking it from the top?
No, go on.
But now it's still not live on anyone's phone.
Okay, now it's live. Now I got the
Is
notification.
it live now?
Nope.
So what do you mean? We have to do all that again?
Let's go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to it. It is the Morning Shake with me, your host, Xavier Hendricks, and of course, my co-host, Mr. J. Paris.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes,
And
sir.
what's happening, my brother?
Good morning to the folks. What up to the youngins, and major bless up to the world. It's your boy J. Paris, and we coming to you live on this beautiful Monday morning from Johannesburg, South Africa. It's the Morning Shake, powered by the Inside Show, and it's the #1 podcast in the world. What's happening, bro?
Yo, the sirens are going off here.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Sirens on the Good Day show.
Thank you so much for hopping on to the show. Like we said, I don't know if we started from the look. If you started and this thing was live and you watched it from the beginning, you just listen to it again. We're here now. But we had a little bit of a technical challenge. We weren't sure if we were live or not, but we live now. And so we're there, we're good, we're ready to rumble, we're ready to go. So before we get into the show, it's going to be a hectic one. It's going to be a crazy show. So please do drop your comments in the comment section. If you have not yet subscribed, please do subscribe. And like I said earlier, man, we're bringing the heat early on a Monday morning. And it's already so hot outside. It's like eating a heavy steak early in the morning when you just wake up. So we're bringing some serious conversations to you straight in the morning. How to start your week. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, please allow me to welcome our other panelists on the show today. Please, we're going to start on my left over here. No stranger to the show, and of course, last week. By the way, thank you so much for everyone who tuned in last week. You clearly enjoyed that show. It really got quite a bit of views, quite a lot of interaction. And also, a piece of that show that I posted onto TikTok kind of went semi-viral. I don't know what constitutes as viral nowadays. You probably need to get to 1 million to be viral. But I think 31,000 views is a decent amount of views that happened on TikTok. So thank you for everyone who showed your love and support over there. But yeah, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, please, from the Wednesday warm-up, let's welcome Leandra Boyson.
Hello! Me sitting here in my zebra outfit.
I see you're both on this side.
Yeah,
rocking
monochromatic.
And we that spring vibes.
Yes. We're balancing it out
Yeah.
here. Nice
balance.
one, Jay. Nice one for noticing that. But hello, thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, no, I'm Lee. I'm from the Wednesday warm-up. And I'm excited to be here. I like eating heavy steaks on a Monday morning.
I know you don't mind the controversy.
So I can eat steak, I can eat curry, I can eat everything because my mind stays on controversy every day, all day. So yeah.
Nah, I had
big
wheat
facts.
picks this morning.
You like to start it off earlier and nice and sweet.
I
But
don't
at
eat
least,
cereal
bro,
in the morning.
Jay, of course, you know Jay is also doing a show now on a Friday with Jezo and other gents that speaks about football. And these gents are upset, bro, because all football has kind of been postponed or cancelled or whatever.
This was a whack weekend,
This
bro.
whole situation
I was
of
watching
obviously the Queen.
I was
and all that.
watching La Liga yesterday. Yo, aye, bro.
You
It's
must
sad.
not watch PSL.
No. In actual fact, I did tune into a bit of Chiefs, but yeah,
Bruh, quality is
I've
not
just
the same.
realized over this weekend how big of a deal the Premier League is. But in any case, that's a topic for another day. What's happening, Anks?
Then, of course, our co-host from the Friday show, the Gab Fest. Also my wife.
Nice. Love the introduction. Nice.
So happened to be my wife.
Yeah, it just happens to be.
Also my wife.
Yeah,
you know.
I think today's topic is a heavy topic, but I mean, these are things that we need to discuss. I think there's a nice, like an open-minded kind of setup here. Most of the narratives here is controversial, so yeah, I'm in it.
We're in it for the long haul, and if you did tune in, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also share this video. Today we're asking the question: did the pendulum swing too far? And we're gonna get straight into it. And the question I want to ask today, with the advent of social media and the increased improvement of the internet speeds and the attempt of globalizing concepts, ideas, and ideologies, we as a society are increasingly finding ourselves indoctrinated by New Age thinking that seeks to abolish the traditional forms of moral values by simply tossing them into a box labeled outdated, old school, misogynistic, sexist, racist, religious. As a result, we are flirting with the possibility of completely eradicating any trace of what is now seen as traditional family units or what some people call the nuclear family. What we fail to, however, take into account by blindly advocating ideologies forced onto us by mainstream media is the lasting effects that our decisions will have on generations to come. There's been a strong push from what the Western media has now termed leftist ideology, a push to advocate murder in the names of my body, my choice, a push to advocate the eradication of gender in the name of freedom of choice, a strong push to advocate the eradication of gender roles in the name of equality. In the same breath, failing to take any responsibility for the increased suicide rates among the so-called LGBTQI plus community. Also failing to take into account or take any kind of responsibility for the lasting psychological effects endured by women who have now come forth with their abortion stories. Also failing to take any accountability or responsibility for women being sexually raped, abused by men identifying themselves by these communities just to gain access to women spaces. Failing to take any accountability or responsibility for the lasting psychological effects on that children have to now endure. Children who have now become adults, dealing with the daily basis of their family unit that has been completely destroyed. These extreme ideas have now raised a generation of people who are skeptical about the agenda and what is now very clear a push on society, and is now beginning to breed a strong resistance. The question this morning is simple. Has the pendulum in society swung too far? And with that little intro that I've just kind of compiled and put together for the monologue in the beginning of the show to just kind of give you an idea of what the direction of the show is I want to toss the question and I want to throw it to my left. Has the pendulum swung so far that it's now getting resistance that could possibly swing all the way to the other side of the table? Deandra, hop in.
Yeah.
You said you like the heavy steak in the middle.
In the morning. I was just about to say facts.
I just want to say that I didn't. You started reading the monologue before we started the show, but you stopped at a certain point, and so sitting and listening to it, I was like, yeah, no, got chills up my spine. Congratulations on that sterling performance.
Come on now.
But indeed, I do believe that. Look, extremities always have extreme consequences, right? Either way, you swing far left, you swing far right, you're going to sit with disaster. Far left is this complete liberal movement, my body, my choice, freedom. Freedom is a mindset, do what I want to do, no consequences. And if there is consequences, the far right is the reason for it, right? And then you get on the opposite end, the far right, which is so conservative that there is no room for error. Right? For instance, you see it in many religious circles, far right, where people mess up and they are condemned to hell. Finish and clear. There is no in between. So have we swung too far? To answer your question starting off, yes, indeed, we've swung too far. The opening monologue was the perfect summary of exactly what it is that we're just going to delve deeper into. So from my side, from my opinion, we've definitely swung too far. And then again, it made me, when you sent me the breakdown of today's show, obviously, I went to go and do some research. If you can call that research, I do believe that some sort of it, even though we didn't have enough time. But it was sufficient research for what I'm allowed to speak about. And what I began to question my own biases, and I was like, okay, are you maybe too far now and then in your thinking? And it also made me realize that if you are not careful about your biases, you will
approach towards the subject,
on the pendulum, right, on the spectrum, you can swing too far. And that is what, and exactly, so that's what I was.
Yeah, but the reality of the matter is that anything in life needs balance. anything, because
Yes.
if you're going any situation, if we've had a little bit too much here or a little bit, there's always a consequence. I mean, everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial for
Yes.
us.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can do everything, but I think very few people consider the consequences that may come with it. It's after the consequences that we're like, you know what, maybe they were right back then when they tried to warn me. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
Paris, what do you think, bro?
Yeah, bro, I just swung too far, of course, but I think, damn, bro, we're only getting started. It's about to get worse. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, bro, it's gonna be complete havoc. I mean, I recently watched the new movie of Kevin Hart, and we spoke a bit about it. What's the name again, bro?
I can't remember.
Me Time.
Yeah, me time.
Me Time. And this his friend sends him a picture of a donkey's penis. But now his kids see the picture. And now his daughter asks the question like, yo, what is that? What is that? What is that? And then he's like, nah, we're not going to speak about it now. You're too young. This he's telling his daughter this. You're too young.
Yeah.
But as soon as you grow up, you can have a choice of whether you want a penis or not.
True.
So this is what he's telling his daughter on, this is Kevin Hart. I mean, the fact that they're now actually using these mainstream headliners to say these things in these movies, and our kids are watching this.
Now, while we on,
That's disturbing.
yes, it is. It happens in the movie. I've seen it. So while we on Kevin Hart, right? I want to bring up the first controversial question. While we on this Kevin Hart topic, a couple of years ago, Kevin Hart came out. In fact, before I even mention Kevin Hart, I would like to say this, right? If you went onto the streets just 7 or even less than 10 years ago, and you went and asked any individual what a woman is, nobody would have an issue just telling you, no, it's a female, adult female. They can get a child with a woman. Any logical person would have just given you that answer, and that's it.
Yeah.
The pendulum is now so far left that people are even afraid to answer the question. People know the answer, but they're so scared of what we call cancel culture. They're so scared of what we call extreme ideologies that they say, this question is a trick question. I'll rather shy away from because I'm scared to be labeled homophobic. I'm scared to be labeled whatever. So I'd rather stay away from this question. Before you hop in, because I want you to hop in, the Kevin Hart made a joke a couple of years ago about the community, right? Couple of years ago, all the movies were speaking about it. A couple of years ago, it was we did a production in 2013, I think, where it was part of it. If we did that same production now, it wouldn't go down the way it went down 10 years ago, right? So that's why I'm saying I'm old enough to know that just 10 years ago, if you asked any logical person on the street any of these questions, nobody would have a problem just answering it without any fear of contradiction, any fear of being labeled, any fear of anything. They would have just answered it off the top of their heads. But we are so far that even Kevin Hart had to come back, and that's what brings me back to the Kevin Hart situation, and had to come and do a whole world tour thing of apologizing for a joke that happened more than 10 years ago because they held him ransom. So now the thing is, has it become this bully kind of mentality that if you don't agree, well, not has it, we know that it has been, right? If you don't agree with the ideals and ideologies, boom, you delete it, boom, you cancelled, boom, you lose everything that you could ever work for. And so now you have to go and apologize to everyone. Same thing happened with Logan Paul. He had to go on this whole tour apologizing. Same thing happened to, I think it was, what's this? African-American singer, I tried to say goodbye and I tripped. Macy Gray. Just last month or 2 months ago. She said something, I love being a woman. She literally said, I love being a woman. And she got cancelled for that. And she had to go out now and apologize to the community for saying that she's a woman. That's literally what happened. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm not trying to add spice. That's just generally literally what happened, right? So it's gotten to a place now where it's so far left that that society has become so oversensitive to anything that's been said that you can literally get cancelled by accident and not even knowing that you did something wrong, right? So here's the question. The question is, does cancel culture and this mainstream society perpetuate a false sense of peace?
Indeed, it does.
Because at home, we're speaking with people we trust and people we know that's not going to judge us.
Okay, I
So
understand
here's
now.
the premise.
You must put on
here's the premise.
a pretense. now.
Black people, when they're alone around the dinner table, they can talk nonsense about colors, they can talk nonsense about white people. In mainstream society, they must smile and act like nothing's wrong. Until dinge word and there's arguments and there's misunderstanding, boom, then you hear the virus coming out. White people, they must, in the privacy of their own home, they're using the K word, they're saying, see those people, they can't do this, they can't do that, they expressing their biases, right?
Yeah.
In the comfort of their home. When they go out, and everyone's, any background is guilty of this, right?
Yes.
Anyone.
Yes.
When they go out, they must have the smile on their face. No, hey, we love everyone, da 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 da. When they get into the car, yeah, this, da, 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 they say what they really feel, right? Brown people, same thing. They speak what they speak in the comfort of their home, and out in the society, you must smile and wave. LGBT people, same thing.
Yeah.
You have an issue with it, but you're so afraid to be cancelled that out in society, you must just smile and Now the question is it perpetuating a false sense of peace? And I'm tossing the question into the air. Go, Anka.
Well, I wanted to jump in that when you were saying that, in the mainstream media, you're too scared to say certain things like I'm a woman, which is a fact. I'm a woman. The challenge that I have is that it usually happens in Western culture. It's what America perpetuates, and when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. But if you go into more traditional spheres, I mean, let's look at the Muslims. For example, you won't find that. You won't find the.
If you do find it, will be fun for between you.
No, you'll find it in America or in a Western setting. You won't find it in the Middle East. You won't find it in those cultural
And
settings.
if it is there, it's very, very frowned upon. They have to kind of undercover.
Yeah, I stand corrected, but I've never seen it. It's always like it's just taboo. Like, I mean, if we have to look at the interview that they did with Matt Welch coming to Africa, I think it was
It was a Kenyan tribe.
It was a Kenyan tribe, yeah, the Maasai tribe. And they were like, what do you mean? What is a woman? What question is this? It's like, Ajedom, how are you asking me this? Like, it's a logical question. But if you go back to Western culture, and it's a small minority that wants to be the vast majority, if you think about it, and that has been spilling over into societies here because of social media and the exposure on social media. Now it's become that the minority, they want to have the stronger side because they have identity issues. So it's like what Ben Shapiro says. You've got the dysphoria. I can't pretend for your sake. Do you get what I'm saying? So people are that confused, but because that minority wants to sort of like run with it, everyone's like, shh. But the vast majority, I think, thinks the same. The vast majority doesn't think that it's weird to say a woman is a woman and why is a woman because they know what it is. That's the vast majority. But because people want to sort of like live a certain life on social media and they don't want to be seen as the villain or they don't want to be seen in a bad light, then they keep quiet and they sort of like dwindle off into like the background.
Jay, you've been quiet, my brother.
Yeah, bro, that's East steak. That's East steak, bro.
It's a heavy one, yeah.
Yeah, nah, facts. Do you think these people are like pressurized in just falling with how can I say, the agenda of what's taking place? Like, say, for instance, the Kevin Hart and Logan Paul and so forth on. Do you think these people really believe what they're saying?
They don't believe it. They're doing it for the bag, bro. They don't believe it.
No, they have to pay their bills.
Exactly. And
They don't
remember, they
believe
have
They don't agree with it. They don't believe
an
it.
army of PR, marketing, all those things behind them, and the platforms that they use is mainstream channels that perpetuate that
So
narrative.
they can't go against the mainstream narrative.
So let's take this example. there's Kevin Hart. He said something, and then at first he stuck to his guns. I think for a day or two he stuck to his guns.
But then
And
the pressure became
then the pressure
overwhelming.
became overwhelming, and then he went and he made a public
Apology.
right? So how many people are sitting and having this conversation saying, "Hi, Kevin Hart, actually he genuinely doesn't, he's just doing it for that, for the bag. He's just doing it to pay his bills and whatnot."
I think majority of people are
The
sitting saying
majority of
that.
people, but let's go take Dave Chappelle. He's one of the very few people
That stuck to his guns.
and he's more respected for it.
Yes.
He's sold out his tours. He's still been doing what he's been doing, and because that's his opinion, he's sticking with it.
So here's the okay, complete your,
No,
your
fine.
thought. So here's the question that I want to ask based on exactly what Anka is saying now, is that when people stand their ground, there's a much bigger respect. Because if you look at what happened to Kevin, a lot of people were like, this guy, why is he not standing? Why is he not saying? But I don't agree. Why is he dancing to the tune of mainstream when we all know he doesn't agree? When we all know that he's into the nuclear family, when we all know he's into the traditional ways of doing family, when we all know he's got married to his wife, when we all know he doesn't want to cheat on his wife. Remember that old cheating scandal? He came, he apologized, he said, "This is not right, I don't want to do." When we all know he's raising his children in a certain way, we all know that, bruh, you don't agree with the mainstream narrative. Why are you dancing to the tune? Then someone like Anka says, Dave Chappelle comes out and says, "No, man, guys, let's agree to disagree. I don't agree with your narrative. You don't agree with my narrative. Why can't we live in the same world of two people who don't agree with the narrative of one aspect of our lives? So we don't agree on this aspect. Now you want to cancel me for disagreeing on you with one aspect. It doesn't make sense."
You know what? For me, it's just the eerie marks, and I'm sorry if I'm sidetracking. You can bring it back to where we're going, but it just has the eerie marks of cultic behavior. Because you have one person. I mean, where did this whole thing start? It started with some doctor, I don't know his name, the way he was experimenting on kids.
What does his name like that?
I can't remember.
John Money.
Yeah, John Money, and there was a botched surgery and whatnot. And these are the sick intentions of one person. It's a mastermind that has just infiltrated a whole society. That's cultic behavior. Now we're coming in here to keep the peace.
But
Just
we're perpetuating the behavior.
We're perpetuating the behavior. You can't say that. You can't do this. No, you can be whatever you want to be. No, you're non-binary. You don't have to be anything. Do you get what I'm saying? We're playing into that cultic behavior.
Exactly.
And if we have to look at society's stats in terms of suicide rates and stuff like that with kids who are now confused, they don't know who they are, they don't know where they belong, because that question mark has been placed. Like there was no affirmation of who they are, their identity. Doesn't matter in what area it is. If there's no affirmation to the child, there's confusion growing up. How am I supposed to know who I am if no one told me who I'm supposed to be? There's no direction. My parents didn't give me direction. But it was one sick person who had infiltrated an entire society. Now everyone must just go with it.
And you know what's interesting, and I'm going to go back to my opening, I'm going to reference my opening statement again when I said that either way, far left or far right, either way it becomes a problem, because both of those can be argued to be cultic, right? Because the far left as well, if you are so conservative and traditional in your thinking, and there's no space for progress in a modern society, that could also be problematic. I'll reference this example, right? Like you were saying with this guy who conducted this experiment to after a botched surgery, right? A botched circumcision.
There's John Money and another guy.
Yeah.
It's three guys. It's three. They're the fathers of this new movement of transgenderism. Transgenderism is not, as many try to argue, that it's an age-old thing and it comes from thousands of years ago. It's not true, right? This started early 1950s, 1960s, round about that time is when it started. And these guys did this experiment. Now, on the far right-hand side, for instance, what did they do with the slaves, right? They took the slaves, like for instance, like your Sarah Bartman, right? And they took and they started experimenting with her body because it was so fascinating for them. Now, you have a problem, men. This is my argument. Many of the far left have a problem with those kinds of things. But the exact same thing is the case with the transgenderism movement. argument. So how do you then equate? Mustn't you check your hypocrisy? Is that not then the thing? Mustn't you check your double standards? And that's my main argument with people on either side of the spectrum. And I'm not saying that I know all things and I'm
Smack
so
dash in the middle.
yeah, I'm so open-minded, because
Yeah.
I also struggle with some traditional views that I need to sit and interrogate. But that's my problem. And then you see there's no space for middle ground, and then you get this reverse thing, like for instance, typical in our country, right, and across the world with the racism thing, the apartheid thing, the colonialism thing. We know that in the past that yes, Africans, Asians, people of color in general, right, of those ethnicities were colonized by Europeans, right? Your what is now, and this is with, I don't know, do you have that? You do have that on your
Controversy of
list.
the Queen.
But we won't get into that now. But I just want to make this example, right? We have this thing on either side, right? Back in the day, we know, we're not negating the fact that there was colonialism,
Yeah.
there was slavery, and there was an oppression of black and people of color, right? There was an oppression of these people. And that's the reason why we have the color debate now, because people are still trying to dictate race identity on other people, which is a story for another day. But anyway, and then we get this thing of, you know that it's wrong, but now you don't want to admit that affirmative action does not mean reversal of discrimination, which is currently happening. So either way, you cannot right the wrongs with the wrong.
Yeah.
In a reverse
You can't
manner.
fix the
Yeah, you can't.
extreme.
You cannot
for
do
another
this.
extreme.
And I think that is what we're doing. We exactly imagine you taking you taking North Pole and South, and you want to now implement it in South Pole, in the Southern Hemisphere. You can't do those things. It's not going to work. The environment is not the same. The people is not the same. There needs to be a middle ground. If you are speaking about affirmative action, there needs to be a middle ground. That is how you affirm the wrongs of the past, or not affirm it. That is how you correct the wrongs of the past. But now people are just swinging the opposite end because they want to be liberated from their past slavery.
How many people do you think say what they say online to be politically correct and kind of go against what they really feel? Glitches
Most
everywhere.
people. Most people.
Yeah.
The vast majority, because a lot of the people, when it comes to social media, it's all about the algorithm, and it's all about, the vanity matrix. It's all about how everyone is liking my picture and how, do you get what I'm saying? So if people are going to cancel you, that's not something I'm going to say, because it's not what's popular right now. And one thing I just wanted to add to what you were saying in the beginning was that a lot of the times, yes, when it comes to being very conservative, there needs to be room for a bit of growth. Yes, there's certain principles that you just don't change. Principles remain throughout. And then there are stuff that you have to go with the times. Things aren't the same with my kids now, aren't the same when we were growing up. Our kids have social media now. I have to watch what my child is watching. Sometimes my kids say things and I'm like, explain, where did you hear that? They'll ask questions about girls and boys and why does this girl look like a boy? I need to answer these questions, but I can't go with mainstream because there's principles that I need to apply.
Yes,
so I need to tell my child, we love the person. There's nothing wrong with the person, but we don't agree with what they are doing. Which means a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl, and that's that. That's how God intended it to be, and that's what we're teaching our children.
Yes.
That's our worldview. We grew up with it, and that's facts. I mean, how many people in the society that decide, no, you need to be more open-minded and they go through this whole rigmarole of trauma, of setbacks and stuff, just to come out at the other end. They're like, you know what? I just come to the conclusion that I really am a girl, and this is who I am intended to be. So, after my whole journey, I've really found my truth. Really, we could have told you that from the start.
Yes. Exactly.
Nah, bro, I just think it's going back to your question, bro. I think it's like extremely sad, and Dan's is even saying, but that's how the
someone
bag,
hop in there what
that's-
people are saying.
That's how the bag works, unfortunately, I guess. It's sad. It's sad to see, and it comes back to the Bible, bro, where it says, what is the profit of man to gain the world but lose his soul? And we can see this on a daily basis, how
People are trying to gain the world.
and they are gaining the world, bro. Again, the bag, they're gaining the world, they're gaining riches, they're gaining fame, they're gaining glory, but
They're losing
they're
their
losing their
souls.
soul, and
selling their souls in
I
many
mean,
cases.
if we have to go look on social media now, how many people are popular, especially guys that are now popular for being in the transgender and doing the whole makeup? And I have no problem with guys doing makeup. I mean, there's makeup artists that I'm in, but what I'm saying is that it's gone completely overboard, and they have made millions just because they've got their whole life displayed and how extravagant they can be, and it's really about the bag. It's really about
how do you tie the agenda being perpetuated and almost shoved down our throats, especially when you speak about things that happened during pandemic and all this. There was a very clear push that I think majority people could start seeing. I mean, what's going on now? Look, when pandemic first came out, I was one of the major advocates. You can go and rewind to all our shows before then, or even my sermons before then. I was one of the major people who said, there's something fishy going on here. This doesn't look right. It doesn't sound right. It sounds like follow the money, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, you don't care about people's lives. You don't, da, da, da. So they were hooked by the agenda. They were, and here's the sad reality. A lot of people don't, and this most heart, like the thing that breaks my heart the most, it breaks my heart. Is that people are so lazy to understand things for themselves or research something for themselves or to be independent thinkers, bruh. They just go with what they told and that's it. And so as an independent thinker, I always look above and beyond. I'm like, no man, something looks a little bit fishy here. And I was, ridiculed for it. I was told I don't care about people's lives. I was told da. I was told I was a conspiracy theorist. A bunch of stuff, right? Bunch of names. Then a year later, people are like, this COVID thing was just about money. The whole PPE, the money. What about that 500 billion that just disappeared? Now China's trying to buy Africa because of this and this. And then we sitting there like, but guys, when we said this in the beginning, you all were saying we conspiracy theorists. You were saying this, you were saying that. We don't care about humans' lives and we don't care about this and that. When we said this in the beginning, we were shamed. The same thing about the LGBT. When we said, guys, how can this be positive on a 5-year-old psyche to tell the child, do what you want? Sure. Is that not your responsibility as a parent to sit there and say, hey, my child can't touch, they can't climb on, they can't stand, they can't say that, don't swear, say good morning in the You can't leave a child to do what they want. So you can't now in the one sphere or aspect of life say, no, the child can do what they want. And in the other aspects of life, you relinquish your responsibility as a parent to guide and to train and to raise, like the Bible says, raise up a child in the way they should go. And when they are old, they will not depart from it. And so now that's why I asked the question in my opening monologue was that, why do they then fail to take responsibility on the psychological trauma that these kids have to endure when they are now adults and say, but why didn't my parents say anything?
Yeah.
Why didn't they tell me? Why didn't they rein me in? Why didn't they say, you can't do this? Be careful for that. Watch for this. But the thing that I'm saying is that when we say these things, we get thrown in those boxes that I mentioned earlier, homophobic, bigot. You get thrown in those boxes. And then like Anka was rightfully saying, after people go through their journeys, and this is what really, really, really gets to me, right? When it gets to a place where now a scientist comes, right? And a scientist says, we have done a survey and we have surveyed 10,000 women. And the survey actually shows that over 90% of these women prefer to be mothers. And the survey actually shows that one of the most rewarding things that women feel for their lives is being a mother to a loving child. The biggest love you can receive is from your child. We have surveyed 10,000 men, and over 90% of men feel that they want to be masculine and they want to provide for their family. Now the scientist comes out and says this, right? Now everyone's like, the science shows that this and this. And then we that were saying this from the beginning, from a scriptural, probably from a spiritual aspect, now the science is literally confirming what we've been saying. But when we said
maybe you got to switch up your voice when you speak about the word. The Bible says that.
I don't know, but what I'm saying is that when
actually
spiritually
don't mention Bible because that is where
because
you
then
run
it's
into
immediately
issues.
a deterrent. But now I'm saying now the scientist comes out in 2022 and says what the word of God said in freaking 500 BC, and it's like, welcome to the club, my G. You're only 500 million years late.
Yeah, but what was the whole scenario you were telling us about in the week where you were saying of this couple and the woman was saying something about her preferring her husband taking the lead and whatnot, and then the husband's like, oh really, I didn't want to impose my toxic masculinity. And then they're like, no, we've had an enlightening moment for this where the husband must take the lead. Oh really? It's enlightening?
We've burnt some sage and we're sitting around the crystals, and we've discovered that men and women are in fact
So here, so here's the thing: we're not saying that toxic masculinity does not exist. We're not saying that. We're not negating that. What we're basically saying is that there is a structure. And I'm not saying that the man must be dominant all the time and basically abuse a woman. A woman does have a say, but there's a structure, there's protocol when it comes to relationships, how it was designed, how God designed it for it to work efficiently, which then trickles down to when you have a whole family structure with kids, so that your kids can understand that this is how it's done, this is how the family works, and be functional beings, be functional adults when they grow up.
Yes.
Exactly. So here's the question. Is the extreme, and for the sake of the conversation, I'm going to call it leftist ideologies, raising heroes like Jordan B. Peterson, like Matt Welsh, like Ben Shapiro, and even dare I say like Andrew Tate, are they raising these heroes with the extreme views to the point where people are like, you see now, and then they go to the complete opposite extreme?
Yeah.
Are they subconsciously or unwittingly, or what do you subconsciously raising these?
So here's the thing with the whole Andrew Tate, and you speak a lot about Andrew Tate. There's a lot of truth that he does raise that I do feel that needs to be reaffirmed in men. That's true, because what's now happened is that, I'm a strong woman, I'm women's empowerment. That really just, now you can say it's toxic femininity. Like, it's just...
It is borderline. Well, it's not borderline. It is just toxic femininity.
Because what happened... what happened now is that women have misunderstood the use of a man.
Sorry, there's just one word for that. It's not toxic femininity. It's just feminism.
That's it. It's just, look, obviously the women were being oppressed, so there was like a start to this, but then we just went
like BE.
Yeah, we
exactly.
It's like now we know all the way this
but
way.
That's
now
what I'm saying to you. In order for you want to correct the wrongs of that, but now you are just going the complete.
Okay, but now we're now completely on this other side now.
Yeah,
Where's the balance?
There should always be balance. So what I'm trying to say is that we're not negating all of that, but going back to the whole Andrew Tate thing. So sometimes, because of the teachings that we are exposed to, we get to take out the bone and eat the meat. Not everyone gets to do that, and some of the stuff that he does say comes across as misogynist. Some people don't have the filter to figure out, okay, that's a bit misogynist, but what he's saying here, that actually makes sense. Let me apply that.
Yes,
right. I'll say what he's saying is true, but also how he says it comes like, hey, bro, you can't say.
Well, there is a few ideas which I'm not going to share because I'm not going to advocate it. But what I'm saying is that
facts, I agree.
What they do though is they've come to the point where, like, you're not going to cancel me because we found a different avenue. We're going to create a different avenue so that we don't get cancelled. And we live in an era where you can do that now. Where there are options.
Other avenues.
Right? Are you going to have to be creative about it? Yes, you're going to have to be creative about it. But a lot of the people don't want to go that route because this is paying my bills now. This is taking care of my car that I'm driving now. It's like a instant gratification. This is what's happening for me now, but I'm not willing to stick with my morals or the values I've been brought up with because that's
the values don't pay the bills.
It doesn't pay the bills. But what we don't see is the damage that it then perpetuates going forward. When it comes to our kids, when it comes to our circles we're like, why is our lives in shambles? Why is our lives, why is our friendships circle so dear mekaar, like why?
But it's unisex toilets, rape case goes up.
Like really.
Just comes.
So here's the other thing. Cardi B has been thrown under the bus many times for having what people call a double standard. In the music, she's saying, let's
I don't
this,
cook,
let's do
I don't
that, I don't this,
clean.
I don't that. And then they're like, but then you married with kids. You basically a traditional mother
Yeah.
in your home.
Yeah.
But here you
Yeah, it
perpetuating.
comes back, bro.
So now, that's what the other question was, is that, is there
I
this?
smell hypocrisy.
So that's the question to
She's
say
just
that,
getting a bag. Come
is
on.
it creating a false sense of, let's just go along with the flow because this pays the bills, but then at home we're like, "Hi."
But that's what I was saying, that a lot of the times how many of these influencers, whatever, that we know that are now into the makeup thing, what I was trying to say there is that is what pays the bills. That's what's trending. So let's hop onto that trend and make that work for us now, because how can we use social media to sort of like sell ourselves?
Can I
in
ask a
order to-
controversial question based on that? Is being part of the LGBT just a trend now?
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to say.
Is it like,
a
okay,
trend.
this is the trend, this is what
So,
everyone's
remember-
accepting, let's hop onto this bandwagon?
Let's go back to the comment where I said if you go into the
Yep.
if you go into the conservative
I'm just
cultures.
asking a question, I'm not fighting.
So what I'm saying is, if you go into the conservative cultures, you won't find the LGBT community there, no, right? But those kids that have been in Western culture has been exposed to something that they were never taught, that they never thought of.
Yeah, but remember they
And
call
then-
it in those non-Western cultures, they
Yeah.
call that oppression. But those people don't feel oppressed.
They don't feel oppressed, but that's what I'm saying. The exposure. Now that we live in an era of social media, everything is just like I have to be so careful what my kids see on my phone. I have to constantly sit there next to them to see what are they watching, what are they looking at. You know, they can be exposed and they start asking questions. And now some people are not equipped to answer these questions. And now this child is like really confused.
No, it's-
But where did it start? Exposure to something that was.
But look at this. You were speaking earlier, Xavier, like the
I wanna
narrative.
jump,
And
guys, we are seeing your comments and we'll jump onto it just now. Jawalopa. Sorry, complete.
So
The narrative.
during the pandemic, which app, social media app, was the most popular during the pandemic? TikTok, right? Look at the TikTok. The TikTok algorithm is definitely not like the Instagram algorithm, right? And it's also not Western owned,
Yeah.
right? It's Asian owned. So now you've got that, right? So now on the opposite end, because now here we are shadow banning you, we are controlling the narrative, we control the algorithm,
If you
we
say something we don't like, we remove your
on
video.
the side,
block
right?
your video.
Metaverse, Google, and their affiliates.
Which is all what?
Right?
Western.
Right? Now you've got the opposite end, which is now TikTok, where there's almost no guidance here, no guidelines. There are community guidelines, but I mean, you get things on your things that pop up and you're like, Yeri sis, why is this on my feed? You know, where did this come from? Because now on this side, it's all over the place. But look, you were speaking about free thinking, and this is what I wanted to say earlier when we were speaking about, it's everything. You think that it's just, oh, well, it's a new innovation or whatever. Everything is thought out. It's planned. It's deliberate, right? Even TikTok, there is a deliberate plan, an agenda, and you can call me a conspiracy theorist. It's fine. I'm okay with not even getting credit a few months down the line when these things do come out again, like what the Cohen thing in the beginning, right? But yeah, with the TikTok thing, what is it teaching people to do? There's content creators, and those are the gods of the social media verse, right? There's content creators. Then there's millions of followers that now duet things and that stitch things and that you just regurgitating content all the time. But this is actually what it's training this generation to do. You regurgitate content,
think for
you
yourself.
don't think for yourself, and
Yeah.
you don't go do further research. That's the reason why last week on my show, when I used that clip of that guy that played a video of this colored lady slamming the slip on the counter and shouting and swearing at KFC, and then he says that the only reason why we are here speaking on behalf of coloreds is because black women don't treat us the way we treat them. Who said that was about racism? Where was the video? What
was
happened
no
before
context
that?
there.
Yeah.
Can you see what I'm happening? Everybody jumps on it. Yeah, ooh, racism. Ooh, you are just regurgitating a lot of hogwash. And then when there's people that oppose your viewpoints, what do you know? Exactly what Keegan is saying here. Where did you get that stats? Where did you do that survey? Who told you that? Because it's not a mainstream person or a popular person or someone. What they do is they go check your follower count. That is now how they revere people. You only valid if you have a specific amount of followers, if you are verified, if you are famous on the social media platforms, then you have a voice.
But I just wanted to know, like, I'm woke out here. Like, isn't that like enlightenment? Doesn't that mean like I'm thinking for myself?
No, but you see the whole issue
Just
with the
asking
woke
for a
culture
friend.
is they don't.
Maybe
think
the
for
problem is they've been woke for too long because they sleep deprived. They've been awake for way too long. You must go sleep.
Go rest.
Go sleep. You need to sleep. You stay woke. That's why you are going crazy. You are delusional. You are losing your mind. Go sleep.
But that is the whole thing that's perpetuated
No.
on social media. Like if I do that now, if I stitch this thing, it's because I'm part of the woke crowd. We know
No,
things.
Valera, come dance. There's nothing wrong with dancing. Congratulations. Wow, you can move your hips. I can't. Congratulations on that. But now, what are we doing?
Doesn't know.
Hop in there, bro.
Yo, big ups to everyone that's tuned in. Big ups, Brad's, Dan's. We have Sheldon Banks saying, and the famous question by Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, when does the left go too far? Then we have Michael saying, good morning, guys. We thank God for a new day.
Amen.
Pastor, what it do? Keegan, 0.701%. Preach it, unks, once again. Dan's again, like you said, that's how the bag works. Unfortunately, then Keegan hops on that comment that Lee spoke about. And then he goes about saying, everything that is mainstream, I don't follow. It's like sheep going to the slaughter. And then Juan, you guys are on fire.
Now facts. No, but and here's the thing though, a lot more people are starting to catch the drift. And
you were asking the question,
Yes,
they creating these
they are
heroes.
creating they
Because people are
creating the
sick and
rebellion.
tired
Yeah.
of being
They're creating the
bullied
rebellion.
into
People
submission.
Are like, oh man, you're almost, this is almost like
vigilante.
bully tactics, man. If you
Yeah.
don't agree with something now, you someone delete our
It's not
pages
bully
and things.
tactics. It's
Oh, man.
downright bullying.
It's bully. It's bully. And now here's the $1 million question. Now somebody like Andrew comes and he hits them wata straight tooth like David on the head of Goliath right here. And they're like, this guy's becoming too famous. Hey, people are listening to him. Take him off here, take him off there, take him. Within 2 days they banned all his platforms, right?
And his
Now he
accounts,
comes-
if they're not, and his financial streams.
And his income streams and all that,
Yeah.
which is guys now this is now just illegal now. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And then he asks the question. He says, okay, tell me what I did wrong. Show me, dissect it, bring it to the table and say, okay, based on 1, 2, and 3 is why we're saying we can't allow this. Nobody can come up with anything. The best they can come up with is allegations that have been debunked multiple times.
Yeah.
That's the best they can come up with. He even came up and said, do you know what they're doing? They're phoning every girl he's ever dated to ask them, did he hurt you? Did he abuse
So
you?
now
Did he?
they're trying their best to-
Now
It's
they're
a
trying to
direct-
fabricate this because they
It's a
realize
smear campaign.
exactly. They realize, "Ish, maybe." And then he comes out and says, "There's people at YouTube that I know that came to tell me they like double second guessing,
Their decision.
blocking me and whatever. Now they're like, Ish, did we do the right thing?" Now to try to validate the fact that they did the right thing,
It's like,
come
a,
at
cou-
us,
it's
go
like,
find-
yeah, it's like
yeah.
a couple having a argument.
Yeah.
And then wifey or Abi is like, yeah, but that time you...
Now you
so
try and
and so.
look for
You go
things
look
to
for
validate
something.
why
Yeah,
you.
I remember when I said something, your one eyebrow went like this. What
Now-
was that all about?
Exactly. Now you try to fabricate.
Now you're not
things.
speaking about the actual...
My eyebrow was itching.
So now they're saying, bro. He's saying that they went to old girlfriends of his in the past to ask, did he hurt you? Did he abuse you? Did he blah 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 blah? Because the first person that says, yeah, he did this and this and this,
Yeah.
what? Then
And
they
it
come.
is like
it's
some
so dumb.
vindictive
Yeah.
ex, like that she's
Yeah.
just
Because what
scorned.
does that have anything to do with the...
But that's the whole thing, bro.
But what I do like about it is the fact that they went around and he basically infiltrated some of the platforms that cancelled him, and then he created his own. So what he then proved to the people is that, yes, you don't have a voice because they're going to cancel you. You're going to have to step aside. You can't play into their narrative the whole time because they're going to cancel you. Because one day you're going to say something, you're going to build your platform here, and one day you're going to say something innocently because that's your opinion and that's how you feel. And then you're going to be cancelled. Then
But did they shoot themselves in the foot with that one?
That's what I'm saying. Like, people are moving away. People are now starting
Because
to
now
think
people now
independently.
starting to see.
Yes.
Big.
Come on.
Big
This man
time,
was
bro.
right.
Yeah.
Come
Look what they do.
I show you what I've observed, and obviously this is my personal observation, right? Let's use YouTube as an example, right? This very platform that we are using, and we've said it before. Like, we had a show on the Wednesday warm up where we also said, cancel culture. You could be next. So
Yeah.
you are on this bandwagon of cancel culture, and cancel left, right, and center. And there was a point that I proved on this last week with my show. I also took a snippet. I put it on TikTok, and this one lady was like, "Yeah, I knew when she was talking about triple BE, she didn't know what the F she's talking about." And blah, 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 blah. So I asked her, "Okay, ma'am, do you own a triple BE certificate? And how's it been going for you? I'm genuinely interested because I'm struggling here with this triple BE certificate with my business, right? Because there seems to be no gap for me. And I mean, I'm classified as
On
part of
paper.
the
No,
yes,
you must
on
pay a bribe to
on
get
paper
those
I'm
things. You won't
classified.
get
So I asked her, she's like, yes, and this company, I'm not gonna blast her now, she mentioned the company, but I've got the receipts. She mentioned her company and she says, go Google them. Level 1 triple BE certificate run by a colored woman. I'm like, okay, no, cool. She's just so, and where did you get your education? That institution should be cancelled. And she's constantly hitting me with insults and stuff like that. I'm thinking to myself, auntie, jy wil vir my kom cancel. You forget that you put your whole company and alles op TikTok. And the kind of language that you're using, Mrs. So-and-so, CEO of what. The same means that you are using to want to cancel me. You think it cannot be reversed? You think it cannot be reversed? That is
fair
what I'm
game.
saying. So the thing is, don't think that you are so invincible. You can't be touched. Nobody's gonna touch me. Nobody's gonna come at me
'Cause you played by a
there
certain narrative.
Look at the
It's
YouTube
very
look at the
hypocritical.
YouTube incident, right? With Logan Paul. They cancelled him for something that he didn't realize what he's doing is offensive, which also I'm glad that there is certain things in place to community guidelines because there still needs to be control. People cannot now want to come say what they want to say. People cannot not just do what they want to do and get away with it and harm people, right? Because what he did was insensitive. So what they did is they
It was
suspended him
insensitive,
or
but the way
whatever.
they carried on was a bit.
So what look what they did to him, right?
That was a bit extra.
Then they reinstated him. I don't know, for lack of a better term. So they cancelled him. Then they realized, but this guy is actually doing pretty well. He's bringing in the money. So we actually do need Logan Paul. So what they do is they reinstate
They called
him.
him YouTube's golden boy. Yeah.
Exactly. But now they're like, this is what you should. Now they control his narrative.
Yeah. And now.
So now you'll notice that he's now become a little bit more of a puppet.
Yeah, he's bang
He's
to
now
say
a puppy,
something,
right? Guys like Andrew Tate, and that's the reason why Logan can say, "Hi, now we saw the same thing happened to you, my bro."
But
But
this
now
is
you
what-
coming and you bashing Tate,
Yeah.
right? You think they're not gonna cancel you again, my brother? My brother, you've been cancelled before. Now you want to now come and turn it around. You are now so heilig. You are now so righteous that you're never gonna say anything again that's going to cancel you. Now they do this. A guy like Tate is like, you give me nucks, actually, YouTube. Yeah, okay, fine. I get monetization or whatever, but I got my own money, right? I will create my own platform. Same thing what's happening with the Daily Wire, the Jordan Peterson and them. They're like, yous want to think that yous can come and control. Even Donald Trump, they cancel him everywhere. He still goes and makes raras.
Even that other guy, what's that white guy, the fat one? What's his name? They said there were frogs in the water and I don't know what. Or the same thing happened to him also. They cancelled him also. Then he started his own platform and they also had like 2-3 million people that followed him over to that platform.
Now look at that. So that question that you're asking, is the left woke mob creating these conservative opposite end heroes? Yes, they are.
So here's what. So there's something interesting that Matt Welch does. Ben Shapiro does it, and now I see Andrew Tate is starting to do it also. So Matt Welch would take. He says, "Come, let's cancel
Yes.
the ones that like to cancel others." Then they would go and not even do much research, and then find something where they also made nonsense.
Yes.
Then it's like, okay, you wanna sit there and cancel everyone? Come, let's find something that you said. Boom, 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 boom. Find like 10 things that they said that also puts them in a bad light. And it's like, but now you canceling us, but...
That's what actually happened. That's what actually happened with Blaine, the artist that was on our show, the tattoo artist. And a lot of people were like, why are you getting him on? He's misogynistic and stuff like that. Or also like a Andrew Tate kind of a situation. And I was like, no, I want to give him an opportunity to give his side of the story, because nobody's allowing that, because everybody's hopping onto one clip that somebody clipped,
And
which
look,
is
if they
obviously...
cancel you, they come for your throat.
Which is obviously done intentionally. You never look at what
The full
precedes
context.
that or whatever. There's always a clip that you take out that you found offensive that you're going to. And there was one guy that reacted to him, right? It was an American guy. Reacted to him and is like, oh my gosh, he was basically like, he didn't really say much, but he's the kind of guy that just stokes the fire every time. You can see it in all his videos. And he became famous. He's also part of the LGBTQI plus community, right? And he became famous because he's speaking to a specific group of people that's going to, with a specific narrative that's obviously going to make him famous. But then I went to go and do some research of my own, because that is what I do. And I found that this guy himself was cancelled once upon a time for racist statements that he made. And he never apologized for it. So now, really now,
But
you
the thing
really
is-
think you're not going to,
But the thing is, if
people-
you push the West, the left narrative, it's very hard pressed that they're gonna cancel you. And so now Andrew comes out, and this one guy from H3 podcast, and he's like, yeah, this guy is this and this and that, and he finds like 3 or 4 clips of this guy being racist, misogynist, saying things that that perpetuates terrorism and stuff like that. And he's like, and then now this, no one is now saying anything about this.
Are they okay with that, because this guy's saying what they
Yeah,
mainly
he's saying what
like.
they want. And then KSI also said a couple of nonsense things. And then he showed KSI's untidiness also. It is like, but now this, nobody's now cancelling him for this. And then Logan also, they showed like how Logan flopped, how they cancelled him, how he cried and apologized and everything. He's like, guys, we can't get to a place where we'll be so worried about what mainstream thinks about us that we're scared to speak out our own truth. And that, I think, is the purpose of today's show. I want people to think beyond just what they're being told on Instagram and YouTube, and especially with the leftist ideology. Think and go and look for yourself. Don't just jump and jump and jump and jump. There are elements that is fact and is true and whatever, but majority of it is like just made up things, bro. Like 700 different genders. That is made up, bro. There's only a man and a woman, and whatever happens in between there. Sometimes the guy wants to be a woman, sometimes the woman wants to be a guy.
And yeah,
sometimes they want to go
there are some
cross-pollinate.
scientific phenomenons, but that is like
Yeah, that's
few
one
and
in a
far
million.
between.
Yeah, and so and
But
again,
that doesn't affirm you to be a
Yes.
special gender. No, there's a medical issue that
They-
needs to be rectified.
they actually say what do you call it? If something happens by chance, it doesn't mean that that's how it always needs to be, right? And so there's a phrase that goes with that. But basically, it's like saying that if a child is born with the arm half or whatever, that doesn't mean it's
everybody
supposed to be
else
that
should
way.
be.
You know, it's something that happened because of whatever went wrong in the womb or whatever. And so the whole point of today's show as we close is that you gotta think for yourself. You gotta go and research for yourself. Don't just jump onto any bandwagon that they tell you to do this and that and that. Reason for yourself. Think for yourself. Look into it deeper. Understand it better. And then also get your own moral convictions and your own moral, standing. And oftentimes I've had family members that we've had these conversations that just their only moral kind of compass is Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. And when we had this conversation and I challenged their thinking, they were like, oh, but this guy's right actually. What am I doing here? Like, why am I just going with the flow? And that's why I enjoy the platform that we have, where we can actually challenge these thought processes and challenge. And again, I'm not advocating for everything. Sometimes I do get a vibe from Ben Shapiro, a bit of a racial vibe
Yes,
from him.
exactly.
I'm not even gonna lie. And even Andrew, the multiple girlfriends and the sleepings around and all of that things. Me, I don't advocate those things.
Yeah.
The things that I do agree with is that you can't just cancel people for no reason because they disagree with your viewpoint. What happened to discourse? What happened to come and sit down, discuss this thing, come share your point of view, share my point of view, and let's have constructive discourse. Don't just because what happens when someone disagrees you, especially from the woke mob, they just insult you, swear you. There's no constructive discourse. They can't actually sit there and debate. Like from a logical perspective,
They will now come and they say, look at the zebra wanting to come. Okay, but now what about the zebra that you disagree with?
Yeah, let's talk.
That's all that you're going to
facts,
say.
you know.
Yeah, look at the zebra now wants to come and tell us 1, 2, 3.
But
Okay,
yeah, you know,
that's quite. It speaks a lot about you if a zebra is coming here with a few points, and all that you can say is talk about the zebras.
So our steak is now finished, gents, ladies and
It was
gentlemen.
lekker, man. Thank
It
you.
was dope. I like what Sheldon says, and you also say it a lot, bro. It's like a house of cards that's
It's waiting
bound,
to collapse. Yeah,
collapse.
facts.
And that's what it is.
Because it's
but
not based on truth.
facts, bro.
Based
Big
on
facts.
feelings.
It's based on feelings. And you know what Andrew says about that? It's like, if I did things based on my feelings, I'd never do anything because I don't ever feel like doing anything. But it can't be feelings. It has to be discipline. You need to do something, get up and get it done. It's not about, hey, I don't have lust. There's every morning you wake up, especially if it's in winter and it's cold or if it's raining outside, it's like, must I really? But then,
You must really.
hey, bro, it's not about cold or rain or
If you
whatever.
wanna
I must
eat.
get this thing done. I must get it done.
Facts.
Get up and go get it done, And it's not about your feelings.
Truth.
Like Ben says, facts don't care about your feelings. Angst.
Truth.
Yeah, no, obviously I'm agreeing with whatever you guys are saying, but for me it's a matter.
You're not
also-
allowed to do that. You can't have everybody agree with each other.
Yeah,
So everyone on
because
this
I can't
panel
think
just
for myself
agrees.
most now. Yeah, the thing is, there's certain principles that just do remain, and I think a lot of us, especially I think in our society, we were raised with these principles and stuff like that. So a lot of them, yes, are very old school, but certain principles, they remain in place. How you adapt them to be, current for your child, or that's applicable to your child now, but the actual principle remains in place. I have to discipline my child. I have to affirm my child in certain areas. Those are principles that remain in place, but I have to think for myself when it comes to other things. I can't let someone else's worldview influence how I raise my child and then confuse the daylights out of my family.
Okay. Nia, are you there?
I'm done. Thank you so much.
Yeah, nah, I'm cool. Thank you so much to everyone that tuned in. Really appreciate it. What a way to start the week.
The steak is now digested. Now it's going to take the whole week to digest. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. YouTube might shadow ban us. They don't like these kind of conversations. They don't like open dialogue and people who oppose their views. So we'll see what happens, man. But y'all don't pay us anyway, man. So who worries? We're going to go there and rumble. See you. Love you. See you on the next show. Goodbye. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to it.
Good morning to the folks. What up to the youngins and bless up to the world.
And then Jay just puts your info on blast like that.
It's what the people want to know, bro. My bad.
Nah, bro.